I recently worked with a client to help systematize their hiring process so that they could unlock the next stage of growth at their agency.
We've got everything correct before we actually advertise this on a job board.
I like I almost want to just start weeping at how helpful this is going to be for my business and my life.
Oh,
Just
good.
being able to visualize things like this instead of having everything I think systematically undervalue the how additive it is to have clear organization and processes like this. I
Yeah,
think I systematically uh, underestimate what a difference that makes and what an obstruction it is to not have it.
yeah.
So you're changing lives right now, Sam. I appreciate it very much.
In today's video, I want to show you the steps in that hiring process and how you can hire effortlessly using Notion. If you're interested in using Notion as your backend, you can check out my Notion for Agencies template that's been trusted by over 200 different agencies. And if you use checkout code agency2024, you can receive 50% discount at checkout. So over on Notion, we have the hiring dashboard, which has a job titles database at the top here in a Kanban board style view and the hiring docs database. And so for any hiring process, it begins with yourself or someone else in your team deciding that there is the need for a new role. So what we're going to do is start in this backlog status and hit new. And let's say, for example, that you're looking to hire a sales manager. We're going to jot them down here and begin the process. So the process basically begins at the backlog, and then once this sort of job has been approved, we can then put it into the first step, which is to define. So I'll drag it into define, and then we can actually open this page in full, and you'll see some of the information we have here. So first of all, we have a hiring docs section, and there's been this hiring plan created automatically. And then we have two tasks that have been populated automatically for us. And so the first steps we need to take are, first of all, to define the role. Now, you'll probably be thinking, isn't sales manager the role? And it's not. And I want to make this distinction clear at the top of the video here. So there's a difference between a job title and a job role. Essentially, a job role is a more prescriptive description of someone who has essentially a group of responsibilities. And particularly in smaller agencies, you'll often have people who are fulfilling multiple roles within your business. So for example, you as the founder might be your social media manager, you might also be your salesperson, you might be your accountant, and so you're fulfilling many roles. And so a job title is essentially just the label that we give someone, and is essentially just a marketing tool for when we're looking to market the new job and hire the new person. And so what I like to do in Notion is separate these two things so they're clear and distinct, and have the job title be the actual page we have here, which is the sales manager. And then we'll have the actual roles that this job is fulfilling. So what we're going to do here is come over to our roles database, which is related here. And I'm just going to link any of the roles that this person will be fulfilling. Again, in this use case or this example, this is a smaller agency. So this salesperson is actually going to be both our sales setter, our sales closer, and they're also going to do a bit of social media managing. So they're going to actually be fulfilling 3 roles within our companies. And now what we're also going to do is open up each of these pages, and inside each of them, we have, for example, the sales setter, and we can see all of the systems this person or this role is responsible for, and we can see all the processes that this role is responsible for. So essentially this page defines the actual responsibilities in terms of the day-to-day activities that this role will be in charge of. And so I'm just going to look through here, make sure that they're correct, make sure that the processes look good. And then I can actually be defined on exactly what the sales manager will be doing. So that's the first step, and I can check that off once I've done it. And then the second step is to complete the hiring plan. So if I come to the hiring docs database, inside of here we have this hiring plan template for us to complete. Now the first thing it's asking us is to identify a pain. And this is something I've stolen from Leila Hormozi, who does a lot of content about hiring. And what she talks about is actually whenever you're looking to hire someone, you want to make sure that the new hire is going to be solving a problem that you're currently facing in your business. So you shouldn't just be hiring willy-nilly, of course, but more than that, you actually want to say, okay, why do we need this person, and what is the problem they're going to fix in our business? So, for example, for us, it might be as simple as the CEO is currently doing all of the outreach and closing, and also struggling to complete the actual content that we want to be making for our business. And so essentially this new sales manager is going to be able to take all of that off the CEO's plate and then free up time for the CEO to work on more important things. And so this is an actual pain that we're having, and this is what this new hire is going to solve for us. The next thing we want to look at is employee benefits. So of course this will include pay, but things like 401k for you Americans, insurance. It might also be just general work environment. And so essentially we want to be able to group together these employee benefits so that when we go to take this to advertise for the job, we actually have some incentives for our employees. But as well as that, we're actually thinking about how we can create good morale and motivate our employees, and have all of this planned ahead of time. And then finally, the interview plan is essentially going to detail who's going to be running each of the different interviews if there are multiple rounds, and what are going to happen at each of the interviews. And later on, I'll show you a bit of a format for these 3 different interviews. But for now, it'll be good to definitely capture who will be taking them. And if, for example, you want to have the candidates complete any tasks or things like that, to jot that down at this point as well. So now we've completed that, we can check off complete hiring plan. And the next thing to do is to move this into the second phase, which is to scope. So again, now we've moved this job into the to scope phase. You'll also now see a Notion that a job description page has been created in our hiring docs database, a job ad has been created, and now we have the tasks, write job description and write job ad. So this is all nice and simple for us to complete. So we're going to begin with the job description. And again, this has a template for us to go through. But essentially, this is the page that we can eventually share with our new hires when they join. And we've already got their roles in the roles database, so they understand what their actual processes they're meant to be doing, and the tasks and the KPIs that they're in charge of. But what this job description really does is tells us more vision for what we have for this particular title. And so it might be the goals that you want them to complete in terms of the business or in terms of the job, the qualities that you want them to have, the responsibilities outside of what you've detailed, and more generally, what is the bigger picture for this job title. So it might be that this salesperson, as well as taking on those roles, we actually really want you to build out a sales team of your own. And so we want you to think about how you can basically scale up the sales team, how you might think about hiring, all that kind of thing. So that's the sort of details we could put in here. And again, we can share this with the new hire when they join the team to give them an idea of why we really wanted to have this job in the first place and where we see it going in the future. Once we've created the job description, we can move on to the job ad. And again, there is a template here that we use to fill this out. And the job ad, as you would imagine, is the things that we're going to be posting on the job boards, on social media, anything that we can get people to make noise about this new job that people can apply for. So as well as having details about the job itself and how to respond or how to apply, one of the things, again, I'm taking from Layla here, is actually making sure that we write this job ad and all of the copy as if it was another system within our sales funnel. And so we're looking for the best hires we can, and we're only going to have the opportunity to look for new hires every 6 months, every year, every 2 years. And so it's important to actually really market this to the people we want and actually try to win them over for the job we're hiring for. So as well as in making sure it's nice and easy for them to apply to, We want to make sure that the actual copy itself, it works like any other sort of marketing function, in that we think about who the avatar is, what their problem is, how our job would solve it, how it would be satisfying, all that kind of thing. And so we really want to spend some time optimizing this job ad, so it pulls in exactly the right people that we want to be working with. And again, once we've finished that off, we can check these off. So we're project managing this all the way through. And now we're ready to remove the sales manager into advertise status. Now we have one task to complete here, and that's simply to post this job on all possible channels. So again, we're trying to find the best candidate. So we were trying to get this as much outreach as possible. So again, posting on job boards, posting on social media, anywhere where we can get eyes on this job, we want to do that. And so post that all ahead. And once we've done that, we can check this off. So once we start hearing back from some candidates, we can move this hiring step into screen. And once we open up this page, you'll see this has 3 tasks for us. So the first thing we will have is to conduct an initial screen. And so in this initial screen, all we're doing is basically doing a quick scan of each of the applications and removing any that we can immediately see are not fit. So this might be people that have just applied with no cover letter. They've applied with a very bare CV. This might be people that have applied to the wrong job or things like that. So we're basically just getting rid of the complete no's straight away in this initial screen. So now we have completed that initial screen, we can add the candidates to our shortlist. And what this task is basically referring to is adding the candidates inside of here in Notion, inside of this candidates database. And so essentially, I'm just going to come in here and I'll add each of their names. So let's say it's John, Mandy, and come in here and add all of their details, Sam, so on and so forth. And so now we have all of our candidates. We can check this off. And now the next step is to conduct a phone screen. So a phone screen is simply just having a 10-minute conversation with the candidate to check that they have applied for the job that they were looking for, and basically just to check what they sound like and get rid of any of the crazies that you might suspect. Now, while we're doing these phone screenings, we can actually open up each of the candidate pages themselves, and you'll notice that we have a section here for interview notes. And so we can come in here, open up John's page, and just say this is John's phone screen. And if there's anything in particular that we want to add at this point, we can add notes about John and make sure that we have that on file about John, so that for the rest of the interview process, we can refer back to those notes and see if there's any weaknesses that we want to talk to him about or any opportunities we want to talk to him about. So after this step, we can check that off. And for example, we would have more candidates than this, but let's say John and Mandy made it through to the interview rounds and Sam wasn't quite fit for us. So we're going to move Sam from the to phone screen and actually move him all the way over to one of these options here. And so we have 2 inactive options, inactive open and inactive closed. Now for the phone screen round, generally we wouldn't put them into the inactive open section, but the time we would do that is if we got someone through to some of the final rounds, but they just weren't quite a good fit for us at the moment, we might say to them after in our rejection email, would it be okay if we kept you in your system for future opportunities? And if they say yes, we would put them in that inactive open, so that we have in our system that we have these lists of candidates that are not quite a good fit at the moment, but if we ever wanted to look for hiring again, they might be a potential option. But for now, I'm going to move Sam over to inactive closed to show that he's been rejected. So now we're in our first interview. Let's talk about what we would probably have in this interview. This would generally be in larger teams taken by one of your hiring managers or one of your recruitment people. And so generally, again, this is almost a bit like a screen again, but we're just finding out about the person, we're telling them about the role, and we're just getting an initial idea of who they are and what their skills are, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, this would be done by your hiring manager, and it's not yet taken to anyone else. This is for them to sort of, again, go through the list and remove those that aren't quite appropriate. So once we've done that, again, at any point, we can open up this in Notion and add interview notes. We actually have some templates here for interview notes number 1. And so, for example, in this particular template, there might be a list of questions that you want to always ask, and then you can add the answers within the toggle here. In the second interview, this will be generally when you might look to have the candidate complete a task for you. So yeah, this might be in the form of a test. It might be asking them to submit some portfolio materials, or it might be a list of situational questions that you want to ask them. And then finally, when we take both of these candidates into the final interview, that's when you're going to have your ultimate gatekeeper interviewing them. So this will probably be your CEO, or it might be, for example, if you had a sales manager currently in the role. These are ultimately the people, the decision makers, and they are taking what's been said by the hiring manager, and they're just checking if they are ultimately suitable for the role. At this point in time as well, Layla suggests that you have the CEO talk about the job being 5% worse than it actually is. And so essentially this is trying to ward off anyone that isn't willing to have hard work or commit to the role completely. So now we're at this stage, we might decide that Mandy was ultimately the right fit. And so we can drag Mandy into the to offer stage. We can make sure that our hiring person sends over the offer and the contract, and then eventually we'll be waiting for Mandy to accept. If she does accept, we can then move her over into the to onboard stage and walk through the employee onboarding process. But if it's the case that she rejects the letter, again, it might be, we might decide that we then want to look at John and give him the offer and so on and so forth. Once we do send Mandy into the to onboard section, inside of Notion, we have an entire employee onboarding process. And so if you would like to see how that works, please do leave a comment down below and I can make a video about that as well. So that's the entire hiring process inside of Notion. Hopefully you can see using Notion and using an actual system for hiring would make the hiring process a lot more manageable and less of a heavy lift. Now, if you would like to receive expert help for crafting systems like this, I have my discovery call booking down below where you can have a 30-minute free chat with me to see how I might be able to help you with your business. If you found this video useful, again, I have my Notion for Agencies template, which you can check out with the video link description. And if you want to see more of this content, please do consider leaving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Until next time, bye-bye.